Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're discussing the most recently released Unearthed Arcana. Welcome to True Strike.
Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the show.
Howdy.
You heard right. Today we're discussing the most recently released Unearthed Arcana. This one was a kind of a combination of the Dungeon Master's Handbook and a little bit of Player's Handbook, right?
Yeah, all the stuff coming out New Year's. The first time we've really gotten a look inside of the DMG coming up.
Yeah.
And we'll get to our thoughts on that in a second. But really quick, did you guys see what's up with the the Book of Many Things release? I don't know if you already saw this or not. You probably did.
Tell me about it.
So tomorrow, in our current time frame, the digital release for those who have pre-ordered the Book of Many Things and the Deck of Many Things digital edition, whatever, will have access to that still on D&D Beyond. But because of issues with the printing and manufacturing and stuff like that, they've chosen to delay the physical release until they get that taken care of. And very recently, as of like within the last hour or two before recording, we've seen images that have leaked, and it looks like in an effort to protect the world and cut down on plastics and things like that in shipping, they've used like paper binding on the new cards for the Deck of Many Things.
Well, that's cool.
For this physical release. Yeah. And it caused all kinds of issues.
Oh.
Like it's bending cards.
Maybe not cool.
It's tearing off foil. It was doing all kinds of things in the testing that is not great. So they've chosen to push back the physical release indefinitely.
Oh, that was what I was going to ask you if they had actually said anything about when they're pushing it back to.
They've mentioned that they're looking to have it released by the end of 2023 at the latest. You're still going to be able to get the early access to the digital edition on October 31st. If you don't pre-order it, you're still going to get it on November 14th. You'll be able to pick up the digital edition, but physical's kind of in the wings. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because that's big right now for anyone waiting on that edition to release. Sorry, heads up.
Yeah, it's kind of bad news, I guess. But I like the direction that they're going. That's kind of cool.
No, 100%. I like the end goal here. I understand. I want to be like, hey, it's your first time releasing cards for D&D and stuff like that. But Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, you think they'd have a little bit more practice when it comes to cards?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like what a majority of their stakeholding at this point, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I should, I'll give them the little benefit, whatever, on this one because
I mean, I've never published anything, so
right. That
who am I to say?
They are doing the right thing, I think, and sending it back to the presses to have this issue fixed. And hopefully, when we cross the finish line, everybody out there who orders this gets a solid project because it's not cheap. The physical digital bundle is $100, and when you're talking some cards that you can buy on like Amazon for like the $15-$20 for like the current version. But these cards are beautiful, and there are additions to the Deck of Many Things. That's the big issue with this, is they've expanded upon it. So this is really the only way to get this edition in the current iteration of the deck is to buy this physical bundle.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is honestly, I mean, this is bad, but it's probably the best case scenario because can you imagine the nightmare it would have been if they hadn't noticed any of this until shipping happened and like people started getting this?
If this went into players' hands.
Yeah, like if this was a live run where cards are falling apart or decks are being ruined by the packaging.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it would have been a nightmare.
The year WotC's had already.
Yeah, no, this would have been so much worse just because it seems like it's like hit after hit on WotC lately.
So, yeah, that's it on that. Good on WotC for trying to take care of it. I wish they'd noticed it sooner, maybe. I'm glad that they're doing the right thing. But man, the idea of, ooh, boy, I can't wait to get my Deck of Many Things, my Book of Many Things. oh, I just get the digital edition, like, which is great for
Yeah,
those
that's
who want to
great.
be informed and
At
read
least you're
about it
getting
and stuff like
that.
that. But man, like, the reason I want to get this set is for the physical cards because they're gorgeous.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have at least a projected release date, but I kind of understand why they wouldn't want to give that like right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll get that out as soon as they're comfortable and confident. Yeah. But right now, I think we are where we are.
Well, news is news.
But speaking of news, during October, we did a month of like spooky games instead of covering the news because nothing was going to happen.
Yeah.
We were like, let's just play one-on-one RPGs and stuff like that. And it'd be fun. And I had a great time doing it.
Yeah, no, it was great. When he first pitched the idea to me, I was all like, oh, just one-on-one games. Interesting. Like, is that going to work? Because we've never really done anything like this before. No. So it was all like, yeah, let's give it a try and see what it feels like. And we started playing a bunch of new systems, some existing systems, new to us, basically. And it turned out to be super fun, like way fun to explore a lot of these stuff that we've been interested in, but haven't had a chance to really look at before.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. And we thought it was going to be a slow news month. And it kind of wasn't. There was some big news here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it relating to D&D, some of it not, just some of it relating to Worthey in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the big things that did happen that I didn't expect, and I don't think anybody really expected,
I definitely did not,
was this new Unearthed Arcana 8.
Right.
And that's because when we hear Unearthed Arcana, we're immediately imagining everything that's been released recently, which is all Player's Handbook stuff. And this does include some Player's Handbook stuff, but it also includes a big thing that is kind of like a sneak preview of the Dungeon Master's Handbook.
Yeah, DMG, the Dungeon Master Guide. It's, all right. I'm just going to go ahead and say, top level, I'm not a giant fan, but maybe this part of the book wasn't meant for me.
Yeah, I heard it and I was all like, what's that? And then top level listened to a couple things about it before I actually sat down and then read it. And I don't know about you, but when I first read this, my first thought was, oh, I think Tyler's going to like this. I don't. It's not for me, but I think Tyler will enjoy this. I think this is like right up your alley. And I legitimately thought that it would be just because of things we'll talk about today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought you were going to like it.
And I read it thinking, wow, this is going to make for great content because Richard and I will argue for an hour about this because I hate it and he's going to love it.
Yeah, we both thought the other one was going to like it.
And if you really dig into it, I can see why you think I would like it. And I just don't. And I think we've talked a little bit about this earlier because we kind of just let it slip. How our feelings were, even though we always try to like save those.
Yeah, we try and save it for the show,
but it was just too much. We couldn't contain it, and I think we align on a lot of it.
I was very unfiltered because basically the way that went down is he walked in and leaned against the door, and while I was on break and was all like, "Hey, I don't know how you feel about the new Unearthed Arcana 8," and I just immediately glanced up and I just said, "I hate it." And then he just started laughing and I was all like, well, hate is kind of a strong word, but yeah, I'm not a fan. And he was all like, oh, I thought you were gonna like it. I don't like it either. We should talk about this later.
Yeah,
which we were already going to.
Yeah,
but like I said, my filter was turned off, so I accidentally spoiled the entire thing by telling him my feelings before we got in front of the mics. But yeah, it's split into two parts. So the first part of this is the Bastion system.
Yes.
The second part is the cantrips.
Right. And there's 10 updated cantrips. Nothing new.
Yeah.
Just changes to 10 cantrips.
Yeah. So
which we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll go to that.
Probably have strong feelings on that as well.
Yeah, we'll get to the cantrips. But at first, I think we're going to talk about the new Bastions system.
Now, Richard, do you want to break this down like line by line, kind of like they have it? Or do you just want to give thoughts about it as we kind of just...
I don't think we have to go through every single Bastion system because there's a lot of these that do functionally the exact same thing, just a different paint.
If you guys want to know more about the Bastions, there is about 20 pages of this like 23-page Unearthed Arcana that's just about the Bastions. And go to dndbeyond.com. You go to the players, the playtest material. It's a free download. Their survey is live now. So I highly encourage you, check this out. Tell them your thoughts. You don't have to tell them our thoughts. You tell them your thoughts.
Yeah.
But if you happen to agree, then hey,
Your
you know,
thoughts.
we're in this together. We're definitely filling it out and telling our thoughts. So you should do the same.
Yeah. Ooh-wee.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my notes. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the cantrips. And I'm going to leave my notes there, I think, until we get to the things I need the notes for.
Things we need notes for. So I'll open this up with one of the main reasons why I thought you were going to like Bastions. And that's because I started reading Bastions and reading what it was. And if you don't know what it is, if you haven't read anything about it, the general overview of Bastions is this is a new system in which the DM can offer players a set of rules to have a home base. So you've probably had a home base in a game if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, especially in a long-term campaign. Mm-hmm. You've had a home base before. So this is the same thing. It's generating a home base, a place that you can go back to, but now there's a whole set of rules that go along with it to make it more structured in what you can and you can't do, and to give you options on the type of home base that you can have, not just, you know, a cabin in the woods or, you know, the room in the side of a castle.
Very, very customizable. Lots of options.
Very customizable. And when I read this, the first thing that jumped into my mind was, oh, that's cool. I've already seen this in Dungeons and Dragons, and not just in the form of, you know, my DM has allowed me to buy a castle, you know, or buy a room or something like that.
Gracious
We've
DM.
seen it in Acquisitions Incorporated.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. So when you ran our Ac Inc. game, one of the very first things you told us about was, hey, there's this new system in here for making your home base.
You've got a franchise.
You have your franchise, and it fits the theme so well. Because if you haven't listened to Acquisitions Incorporated, you should go listen to it. It's amazing. It's so great. It just flies by, even though it is so long.
They're amazing.
It's just an amazing podcast. But owning a franchise means having that home base, means having hirelings, means generating income, spending the money that you make out in the field to make your home base better. Mm-hmm. These are all things that are in the Bastion systems. Like, I don't want to say that they got the idea from Acquisitions Incorporated, but it feels heavily influenced by that release, which was an official book.
Yes, and Acquisitions Incorporated also includes something that this didn't, and maybe they'll elaborate on it on the full release, but at least in this testing document, it didn't include things like transportation. So in Acquisitions Incorporated, at certain levels, you gain access to a horse-drawn cart or a boat or an airship, like different things. And you can, once you get those upgrade with you as well. And you've got different members of the team that are documancers or cartographers or have different positions in the team. And as they level up, they get levels within the company that give them things like mapping equipment or the ability to hold, have different kinds of bags of holding with special abilities, or to upgrade their transportation or the franchise itself with defenses and new hirelings that all take like weekly pay. And you have like thought goes into this, but like at this point, you know, it kind of just runs itself, but it's nice to think about.
Yeah.
And it's not tedious in the fact that you, like, every single player needs to bring home a spreadsheet over the weekend and like come back with their plans and what they want to do with their Bastion. And oh, you know what? Actually, hey, Richard, do you want to combine Bastions with me, and we'll like connect them together that we can share like resources we pull together, and maybe we agree on that, maybe we don't. And then just so much.
Yeah.
There's so much, and like
it's a lot.
I'm gonna skip around a lot, but my biggest thing is the amount of days required. It's I believe a week before you have to give you get Bastion points, and you can give an order if you're there, or they do like
maintenance
if you're not there.
Maintenance orders, which basically means that if you don't check in with your Bastion, it will run itself to a point. You do have to check in though. So if you don't check in, your Bastion will dissolve. Like the hirelings will just quit.
Yeah, you have to check in. I believe you can miss as many weeks as your character is leveled.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you're and you do get the Bastion at level 5. So level 5, you can get your Bastion. You've got 5 weeks before you have to make it back.
Yeah.
Or they're just gonna start going away, and you're gonna come back and be like, well, dang it.
Yeah. And like I said, I thought you were going to be excited for the Bastion system
It's
just
too much.
because you were excited for the franchise.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you were excited for the franchise.
Yeah.
But the thing about the franchise is, and even when you pitched the franchise to me, I was more excited for the franchise than I was for the Bastion system. We ended up not really utilizing the franchise system as much.
It's there.
We always and we did use it. We came back to it. We come back to it story wise. We came back to it during Halloween,
right?
Which is really cool.
The cart you guys had transportation wise,
yeah,
it had a couple, like I believe it had only one level ups from the beginning, and then based on your player level at the end of the campaign, you earned an airship, which your cart turned into.
What cart turned into. But yeah, what I was getting to is I think that the franchise stuff made a lot of sense in the Acquisitions Incorporated world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the way that it functions and the way things work. And it's a little bit more tied in, I feel, than the Bastion system feels here.
Yeah.
Because the Bastion system here is good. It's just an iteration of that.
Right.
And they took some things from it. They added in some new stuff.
Some new stuff.
Yeah, some new stuff. And I think that it's a bit much. And you said something earlier today, which I think is very true, which is that this is for someone.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. There's someone that read this and is jumping up and down with excitement because now they get to plan out their Farmville. Right?
Yeah.
So they get to play, homemaker and do this whole thing. Because, I mean, it goes down to the kind of furnishings that you have and how big the rooms are and how many rooms there are and then how many hirelings that you have and everything like that. So it gets pretty in-depth on what you can do here.
Yeah, and with a combination of Bastion points and gold, which you can use to speed up how many Bastion points you get, you can choose like, oh, well, do you want a kitchen? Okay, well, it makes sense to have a kitchen, so you're probably going to put a kitchen. Does the kitchen give you anything mechanically? No, it doesn't give you anything mechanically. What it does give you is flavor, and you can introduce the session with yours and other characters, like cooking pancakes in the for breakfast in the morning and stuff like that is really fun to me.
Yeah,
like that's cool. I could have just done that though with hey, you guys have a thing, you're making breakfast in the morning. I didn't have to spend 100 number off the top of my head. I'm sure it actually says it in the thing. 100 Bastion points for this kitchen that doesn't do anything. Or you can spend it on like arcane studies and you can have them like find magic items for you. And it's like, okay, well, how long is it going to take to find this magic item? Probably like, 30 in-game days. And you're like, ooh, man, that's a long time. And this is just a very low magic item. What about this better one? That's going to take 257 in-game days. Yeah. And you're like, oh my goodness, which is fine if your characters are doing a lot of resting. And if
you have a lot of time jumps, maybe.
I feel like you have to build the campaign for the ground up. And this is where I think this system will thrive, is people are going to make really cool campaigns with this at the heart, that this is going to be a group of adventurers who start from nothing, maybe, who just through notoriety and a little bit of gold, maybe they find a dragon's hoard at level 4 going to level 5, and they do it and they save a town and they have enough renown and they use that wealth to build a little fortress or a little settlement or something. And then as the campaign goes, let's say it's a level 20 campaign, because
you pretty much have to be.
Every level is when you're like player levels when you're making these big choices in the Bastion. So you level 20 level campaign and you're watching this grow with you, and it's customized, and every player gets their hand in the pot. This is the DM's chance to really sit back and just watch the players do their thing, and you're kind of asked to. You're asked to sit back and interfere as little as possible. Really just there to answer can I's, or would this break the game if I get this? And most of the time you're probably going to say no, because you want your player, like, they earn the Bastion points to get this magic item, so you're going to let them get it. And there's just funky stuff, because wow, that you can never run a module and do this. At least it seems more difficult.
It would seem to be a lot more difficult because, like you said, this is lending itself to almost like a saga type of a game.
This campaign will take place over years in game.
Yeah.
If you're going to actually get out of the Bastion what you're trying to. you're gonna have to keep track of your character's age.
Yes.
100%. Like Victor wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, and you have to keep track of time accurately.
Yes.
Because you while you're out adventuring and 4 or 5 weeks pass, stuff is happening at the Bastion.
Oh my goodness.
Even if you check in. So
every
like
week, yeah.
Even if you check in every like once a month, would it be, and then you leave again, there's stuff happening for that entire month before
every
you check
week,
in that has to be rolled out, that has to be, randomized on a table to tell you how you deal with it and what you do. There has to be choices made there.
Yeah.
So even with just maintenance of not being there, there's still things are gonna happen at this Bastion. So I think you're right. I think you do have to plan the campaign from the jump if you're going to be using Bastions, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to plug this into just any old game.
It'd be weird. I just imagine like really being like full into it and then coming back after doing like some sort of venture and the DM's like, oh, wait, we didn't check on, we were in the Fey realm for a while. Oh no, we didn't check on us in a couple months. Well, what's there when we get back? Rats.
They all left.
Some if a local thieves guild has made a home in your study. And
it's interesting because like in the YouTube video when they discussed this, they discussed it as being a drop-in. They were all very hype about like, oh yeah,
you could drop this in right now.
Drop this into your game right now, and you could just start running it tomorrow in any game that you're running right now, any module that you're running, which I guess is technically true.
Yeah, for sure.
That you could drop it in. Is it going to be effective? I don't think so. I think you really need to plan for this to be in there.
They took a very math heavy, grindy approach to this, and whether that was their intention or not, it shows. But with it being that intense, it's hard, I think, to drop in.
Yeah, I think it'd be very difficult to drop in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like we keep talking about the system, but we really haven't gone over too much of what it is. We discussed the kitchen, right? Which is kind of like just there, right? And you can have other rooms, like personal rooms and studies that are just kind of there. But it's quite a long thing. You'll have to read through it. It is literally 20 pages because there are so many different types of bastions that you can build. Some of them have prerequisites, some of them don't. And they run the gamut from being stuff that is not really, it doesn't benefit you specifically as a player. It benefits your bastion. So things like barracks and armory, right? So those things, what they do is they use gold and rolls to generate and upkeep things for defenders and people that are running. So hirelings in general.
Right.
So those are the types of rooms and stuff that you can build in your bastion that just benefit your bastion. So keeping it a standing structure. So if it does get attacked by a dragon or a bunch of goblins or whatever, your defenders have the shields and swords and bows and stuff like they need to do it. They also have beds to sleep in at night to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah.
We're playing Sims now. So you're looking for the little gems on the top of their heads and the happy sounds. But then you have other rooms, like you have like studies, like you kind of mentioned before, where you can spend money to gain magic items. And these are, everything from like, actually you can do regular items to uncommon magic items to rare magic items.
Yeah.
All varying cost of materials and time being the number one currency essentially. And then you can either choose to receive those items. So like you can say, okay, well, my bastion has created my bag of holding. I'm going to go back and get it. And I go get it and I take it off on the adventure with me. Or you can say, generate these magic items. As soon as you do, sell it for profit.
Yes.
And then you generate more gold to then generate more stuff to go in your bastion. So that's one other example there. There is also what's the word I'm looking for? You mentioned cartographers essentially, which is, there's a room for that in the bastion as well. So to generate maps that you can go and pick up for areas that you haven't been or areas that you have been, depending on what the DM wants to allow.
Yeah. There
are multiple types of gardens that you can do, which are gardens like, healing stuff and beneficial potions and stuff like that. And then there's also deadly gardens for doing just, poisons and stuff like that. There's alchemy bastions for creating poisons, for creating tinctures. There are studies which are for basically devoted to finding scripture. So writing spells and stuff like that, and spell books. There is history-based bastions for gaining knowledge.
A bastion for everything.
There's a zoo bastion. I forget what it's actually called, but essentially that's what it is. It is for raising lions and tigers and bears, which are all for personal use. You can take them away from the Bastion and have your bear, or you can leave them at the Bastion to, be a defender. So you can have bears defending your Bastion. I mean, that's something. There's all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, the list just keeps going on and on. The one that they touched on in the video was the gaming hall. So you can make a casino Bastion that does nothing but generate gold when you're not there, because people are betting and losing money.
Yep.
Yeah.
House always wins.
Yep. The house always wins. So you're making money right there. Oh, there's a demi-plane Bastion.
Wonderful. Why would there be?
Yeah, you can just
Nether portal.
you can walk through the nether portal on the wall and go into your own little demi-plane where you can't be scryed. And you can make items there that you can bring back from that plane. There's so many different ones. And some of them are, like I said, beneficial to you as a player. And then others are beneficial to the Bastion in general.
Yeah.
And some of them just make money. Some of them are just there to essentially churn out more money. Because that is one thing about Bastions. They are not cheap. They are very, very pricey. Building the Bastions costs a lot.
Yeah.
Upkeeping these Bastions costs a lot. So you are going to have to do some of these, ones that are not necessarily beneficial to you as a player if you want to keep things running, right? Mm-hmm. The gaming house, the pub, these are all things that are going to allow your Bastion to become a little bit more self-sufficient and keep itself going. So yeah, it is a very robust system, and there's pretty much a Bastion for every type of player, I guess.
And every type of character.
Yeah, and every type of character.
You mentioned prerequisites. There are things for, are you a monk? Are you a caster? If you're a caster, can you use a focus? There's very specific things you have to be able to build specific Bastions.
Yeah. And the only one that's in there that is the one that everybody thinks of, and it's the one that when you think of like, oh, I want my characters to have a home base.
Yeah.
What do you put at that home base?
A tavern?
No.
A bed.
A teleportation circle.
Oh, yes.
That's
very high level.
That's the biggest one for like any high level campaign that's got a caster of any
That's
type.
the one that makes the most sense.
They always have a teleportation circle at home, at their castle, wherever they're at, their keep or whatever it is, because that is the most beneficial thing, right? Because let's go back home, regroup, gather materials, drop off this dragon's hoard of gold that we just found.
We've leveled up enough. Let's fast travel.
Let's fast travel. Teleportation circle is a big one, and that's here represented. Yeah. So, yeah.
Speaking of fast travel, you forgot one of my least favorite. Well, I guess you've probably forgotten. You just haven't gotten to it yet.
I didn't forget it.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten to it yet.
Well,
I ramble a lot when I'm talking about this stuff.
No, well, he's very...
I'm very passionate when it comes to Bastions, just in case you hadn't noticed. I mean, do you want to take this or do you want me to keep
I would love
going?
You to just keep going.
Okay, so...
you're the passionate one.
The reason why I do not like Bastions, and the reason why this is not appealing to me, it already exists in its own way, shape, and form. Like we mentioned before, a DM, if they so choose, can allow you to deed out a house or come across something that you can make your home base, and then the DM can flavor it and you can use it. And functionally, it's the exact same thing that you're seeing here, much cheaper.
Yeah.
And a lot more customizable to the individual player. Does it require a little bit more on the dungeon master? Sure, depending on what the players are asking of you. It does a little bit. One might argue probably less than what you have here.
Like, I'm not keeping track of like the minutes.
Yeah,
you guys.
There seems to be a lot to track here. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, having to keep track of passage of time and what the hirelings are having, and all those rolling that you're going to have to do when that time passes is a little bit crazy.
Rolls and all the different, like, you're talking an average group of like 4 players. Every single one of them wanting to have different rooms, different connections, different hirelings.
And you're tracking all of that. It's a lot. But that, it's fine. Bastions, cool. It is what it is, right? But then the more I read it, the more I got this feeling, which was creeping up on me, which was, this feels like a video game. This is starting to feel like a video game. This is starting to feel like Final Fantasy Online, where I have millions of gil and I don't have anything to spend it on, what do? They open up the housing market. So you can buy houses and then you can decorate your house with fancy things. You can decorate your house with a forge so you can make equipment. You can make a guild hall where you can train things. You can store your pets and your mounts and everything like that. I was like, this feels familiar. Oh, that's why, because I played MMOs.
You've done
and
this
I've played
before.
MMOs with housing markets, and that's what it felt like. And then like, okay, what else can you do with Bastion points? And then the big one came across, which is the one that you're talking about, which was as your Bastions grow and you put more money into them, they generate things called Bastion points. And those points can be used to do things like, buy a magical item, right?
Yeah.
Upgrade your house, bring you back from the dead if you die.
Only 100 Bastion points, and you come back from the dead once per level.
Respawn. They put respawn in the game.
Yeah. Straight up respawn. No, as long as you have the Bastion points to make it happen.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't matter how you died.
No. No, they just say that, oh, you died. Okay, so 100 Bastion points. The next dawn, you can respawn at your Bastion. So your hirelings bring you back there and they use whatever they need to bring you back to life.
So I need clarification on this then, because I know you mentioned you flavored a little bit and we were talking about it earlier that your hirelings are going out into the world, they're looking for you, they're like carrying you back, and they're like, scalpel, 300 cc's of pledge, and you get them strapped up and going, and the next morning you're stretching your back at it. What if you were disintegrated?
Well, that's the thing, is that's what makes it even more heinous to me, is that they don't actually tell you anything about that. The only flavor that we have to the respawn is the YouTube video, because in the interview he says the same thing, like, what, this respawn is interesting, and he's all like, oh yeah, your hirelings go and they get you and they bring you back and they use whatever they have to to bring you back to life, to like the cast a spell that they needed, or the salves that they needed to super heal you, or whatever it may be. Whereas in the actual player's handbook, or the UA, it just says spend 100 Bastion points, respawn the next dawn, and that's it. So it is legit like a video game.
You've been disintegrated, and they're just sitting there with glue, like putting your pieces back together. Like, we've only got 6 more hours. Hurry up, Fred.
No, they have in your Bastion, there is a giant world map with a green dot on it with your name floating above it. So all your hirelings are just watching it like the NASA control center. And they're like, oh, I think he's fighting a lich right now. You can see that light is kind of blinking a little bit. And then all of a sudden it turns red. And then they just flip the switch. They press the button. They're like, we'll get him tomorrow. He'll just reappear right here. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll try that lich again next week, after we get 100 more Bastion points and it's safe for him to respawn.
I'm telling you, once per level, it's just a clone pod.
Yeah,
they just open up the bath and.
Yep, that's what that's the question, is like, are they respawning you, or are they just pulling out another Cleon because we're in the dystopian future here? So it's weird. And like I said, that's what the Bastion system started to feel like. The more that I read about it, the more that it started to just feel like a video game. And then I started to remember the way this is heading, and the way this game is heading, and what they're pushing and what they're not. And we all know what that is. We've talked about it here before. And if you haven't seen it, it's the virtual tabletop.
VTT.
The VTT. And if you've watched any of the videos of VTT, you'll notice that it seems a little bit less like Dungeons and Dragons and a little bit more like a video game.
A little more Baldur's Gate.
A little more Baldur's Gatey. And you know what fits right in there? A housing market. Or a Bastion. My bad. A Bastion with a respawn, And is it that far of a stretch? I ask you, and I ask you, is it that far of a stretch for you to log in and it's all like, oh, hey, it looks like you're playing Strahd module today. What would you think about a Strahd themed Bastion?
Only $199. You can get this texture
gothic.
pack.
Yeah, you can get this texture pack, these fancy hirelings that are all pale. Because
disembodied
we're
hand.
in Barovia. Yeah. What about some unseen servants? Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. And like, what does it cost you? Just a couple of bucks for an asset pack. Yeah.
No biggie.
And that's what it feels like. Are we playing, Animal Crossing, Dungeons and Dragons 8th edition?
Well, just wait. Your D&D Beyond membership is going to start including monthly asset packs.
Well, yeah, you'll get an asset pack for free if you're subscribed.
And then oh my goodness, the real
Which Bastion is going to be released this month? We're got a new Bastion coming. What's that new Bastion going to be that you can add into your, menagerie of Bastions? I want a board game room. Yeah, I mean, like my characters want to, during their downtime, they might want to play some Monopoly. So.
Yeah.
You can get like actual bastions that are like licensed content, like who wants a Starbucks in their bastion.
You keep this up, you're gonna actually have the green like crystal over your head, and it's gonna be for real Sims.
Yep.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's how this felt. The more I read it, the more it felt like a video game, and the more things started to kind of make a little more sense.
A little less tabletop.
And maybe this is tinfoil hatting.
I'm sure it is.
On my part. I mean, or they just have a system. Somebody was playing Acquisitions Incorporated at the head offices, and somebody came by and they're like, "What you doing there?" And it's like, "Oh, this is my franchise." You're what?
Yeah.
Franchise? Would you say Bastion? No, you said franchise. Well, Bastion sounds better.
Franchise, we have to pay a licensing fee to Jerry Holcomb. So.
Yeah. Jerriford might give us a call if we use the word franchise, but if we call it Bastion,
wink,
we're good. We're good. Jerry's not going to care, right?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I think I'm done ranting about Bastions. I've been talking at you a lot.
It's fine. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Every podcast, we talk at each other.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Bastions. So now you know how I feel about it. It's not for me. And like I said, maybe it is for somebody. Maybe there's somebody out there that's listening to this thing that sounds really cool and is right up their alley.
I'll say, you said during this a lot of really cool things about this. And if I didn't already know that at the end of it, I wasn't going to be excited about it because I've already read it, you would have sold me on it for a little bit there. You're like,
for just a little bit.
All these cool rooms you can build, and you can make things, and magic items will come to you, teleportation circle, and it's themed to what kind of character you are, and you can even come back from the dead. That's awesome.
This is all very expensive, though.
It's also a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it's also very expensive. Like, if you look at, some of my more recent characters that are not super high level, they Poe.
Devil's advocate. How much money are the Bastions generating for you, though? You get in the door at level 5.
Yeah, but you got to spend money to make money.
So level 5, you get, what is it? It's 2 rooms out the gate, right?
I think so. But they're like the cramped rooms.
Sure.
Yeah, which is like super, super small. There's actually like right at the beginning.
But you can roll this. You can roll this into more money as you go. And like I've said at the beginning of this, if your campaign is geared towards this being the hook from the get-go, there's gonna be an influx of money coming through it. Like, your DM's going to build the world with this in mind, and I don't think it'll be an issue that it's expensive.
Man, I don't want to do that.
It just seems like a game I don't want to play.
That's what I mean. Like, if we sat down and we went back into our Strahd game, and you're all like, "Oh, hey, we're implementing Bastions." Well, I mean, aside from the fact that one of your party members burnt down the building that you would want to use, we'll get you another piece of property, and you can build your Bastion on it. I'm not interested. Like, because you're going to be all like, yeah, you're going to have to come in back and check on it every 7 days.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to send, a messaging stone, and you're going to have to talk to them at least every couple of days, or every couple of weeks, to make sure that it doesn't burn down. I don't want to focus my efforts on the base building.
Yeah.
Because, I have more important things to do in that campaign. Like, and it's not base building.
It's also interesting to me thinking about the fact that, like, if you were to come up to me and say, "Hey, Tyler, I'm going to start this campaign. It's going to be Bastion, et cetera, et cetera." How long is this game?
Oh, yeah.
And like,
so long.
And at least as it stands currently, I'm sure, modules going forward will probably, oh goodness, I didn't even think about this until just now, will probably include Bastions. Whoa, I didn't think about that at all. Yeah. Well, we'll see how modules turn out.
Well, it's weird because they won't be able to do it in every single module, because you're going to have to implement a time jump of some sort, because
that's where it gets weird.
Otherwise, you have you're gonna have to artificially extend the campaign out, and then it just doesn't work in some campaigns.
No,
like,
even
look at Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Yeah,
like
it wouldn't work.
You waste an extra couple of minutes doing something, and I don't want to spoiler the game for those of you who haven't run the module, but you waste a little bit of time doing something on the side that you think is inconsequential, and then the DM makes you cry.
Yeah,
a couple of hours later, when they're all like, "Oh yeah, when you did A, B happened," and you were just all like, "You what?"
Yeah.
Like, that was insane. And then you try and think of how Bastion is going to fit in that. Like he said, "Oh, you can just drop Bastion in any system you want."
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There is no way that you can stick Bastions into Rime of the Frost Maiden. At least I don't think so. And have it be any semblance of fun.
Yeah,
So it can't be in every single module unless every module is built with Bastions in mind.
That's
which
what
is
I'm wondering.
Gonna get weird.
That's what I'm wondering is gonna happen starting in, towards the later half of 2024, 2025, etc. Are modules going to all include, Bastions? Like, are they going to take that into account and make the timey-wiminess of it all just kind of funky? Or are they going to continue as it is, with the idea of kind of thing to plot to hook to plot to hook to adventure to whatever, and day by day like it is now, and just allow the DM to add in Bastions and kind of spread things out if they want? Or are Bastions going to be set to the side for homebrew campaigns? I don't know. I wish this system was in its own book, kind of like how Acquisitions Incorporated did theirs.
Yeah.
I wish Bastions was its own standalone thing, came with a campaign geared towards Bastions that helps get you, helps you and the players understand this, wrap your head around everything, and get you going. And you run that once, and you're like, I got it. Now I know how Bastions work. And boom, you can build games from the ground up with these in mind. But I don't know if it's just like built into the DMG, how many new players are going to come into this thinking Bastions are just
part of the game,
and then get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is that at the end of the day, we're dealing with an Unearthed Arcana here, which means that this could even not exist.
Yeah.
If it gets tested poorly. Like if they get this test back and it scores like an 11%, they are going to dustbin this, and we're never actually going to see it in play.
Yeah.
If it gets, a rating of probably 40% or higher, they'll look at an iteration, they'll try and fix it, they'll do something with it. If they get a lot of feedback that is exactly what you just said, I could see them going that direction with it. So because this is not really official content, I mean, it's official content, but this is not necessarily how we're going to see it in the future. So maybe that is the case. Maybe this is going to be its own standalone book, and they are going to piecemeal it away from the Dungeon Master's Guide, which I think makes more sense, honestly. Because then it's there for somebody. It's there for somebody, like all of Dungeons & Dragons content. Because you can come into Dungeons & Dragons and you can pick and choose what you want, right? What your specialties are and what you want to get out of the game. And like you said, having this just in the regular Dungeon Master's Guide makes it feel like it's a core mechanic. And I think it's far from a core mechanic.
Yeah. How? Do you think they're pushing it in for being in the DMG because they need new things to separate this version from the 2014 edition?
I think it's a pretty reasonable ask. I think that, yeah. I mean, that way, what it comes down to is like you have that age-old question of like, what makes it worth it to buy the new material?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so what are you giving me? What value added do I get for picking up this new thing? And if it's just cleaner text, then you're going to be hard-pressed to make that sale to anybody other than, like, me or you, right? Because at this point, if they release a new book, I'm just going to buy it because, new book, shiny. Even if it's just, like, fixed text, I'm still going to be interested in it. But that's not the case for everyone. A lot of people are going to be looking for a reason to buy things, and if you're not adding new content, you're not giving them a viable reason. So maybe that would be why. I think that you're more on the mark when you said this needs to be its own standalone book. I would be way more accepting of it.
Oh, I would,
if that was the case.
I wouldn't be upset about this at all.
Yeah,
not
because it's just more content. Yeah, but I'm not mad about it.
No,
it's just that like
it's not for me.
It's not for me. Yeah, and like when I read it, the only thing I see is video game.
Yeah, that's and when it's in the base book, I feel like it's supposed to be a core mechanic.
Yeah,
and I don't like it as a core mechanic personally. I would love it as supplementary material, just like I love franchises from Acquisitions Incorporated as supplementary material. We don't do that in every game. We did that in our Ac Inc. game.
Yes.
And it fit the world perfectly.
And we were not required to check in at regular intervals and to make rolls to figure out what happened. Things just happened.
Yeah.
And you told us what happened, which I'm sure you had to make up, and we had to go in, which, like I said, arguably, was it more work on your part or less work on your part not being told what to do? but it just felt like a more organic system. One, because it fits the theming, and then two, because we didn't feel like it was like this cloud looming over your head, which this feels like it. Like, oh, I've got a bastion now. I have to adult this.
And you guys did have a set amount of gold at the beginning that you were able to allocate towards design and employees and things like that. You were able to pick your major domo between a couple of choices, deciding on Joe, which, you know, of course. It just, I don't know. This is definitely going in my survey. I don't know about yours.
Oh yeah, no, I have thoughts about it. Yeah,
it's just weird filling out information on something and being like, I don't completely disagree with what you have here. I see what you're going for. It's cool bones, and there's some meat on there. That's really neat too. But why is this fish with my tater tots and lasagna?
Yeah. This specific UA is going to be one of the surveys that I'm going to feel weird about.
Yes.
I haven't felt weird about any of the previous surveys.
No.
Because those are all materials that I do feel confident to talk about, right? And playtest and everything like that. This one is one that I have no interest in playtesting because I've already done a system similar to this and it's not my bag. But I still want to talk about it in the survey. So I feel weird about it, like almost like I'm not allowed to say that I don't like it because I'm not going to playtest it.
I wonder if they were, because they are under time pressure.
Oh, well,
yeah. Put on themselves time pressure because they have to hit the anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, so they have to release it next year. They really don't have to, and I wish someone at Hasbro or WotC
would tell them.
Someone would tell them.
Just calm down for a minute,
Like, Chris,
you need to calm down.
Don't have to release this. You need to calm down.
You're being too loud.
You're gonna get us taken off the air. Is this thing on? Oh man, it's just like they are walking back changes that every time they make a cool change, it feels like they walk it back like 2 steps forward, 1 step back on a lot of these, character and class revisions and things like that. And now they're like, we have this really big idea. If we wait any longer to pitch this out there, we're not going to get any feedback. So
yeah,
before 2024 rolls around, pitch it out there real quick so we can at least get maybe a second test next year. I think that's what happened. I think everything got crammed so much that this one, that's why it felt weird with its like mid-cycle release of it and surprise, because and it's also not part of a bigger test because they were like, this is new. We need to test it right now so we can get ready for next year. Throw this out. After this, we'll do another player's handbook test as scheduled like normal, but we can start working on what we got from the feedback from this for the first like real DMG playtest. This is weird. Also, then cantrips just being kind of thrown in there at the end, which I think at this point, maybe we're going to cover that on next episode. How do you feel about that?
It is, yeah, this Bastion episode has gone on a lot, and it actually kind of goes into more, we start talking about more stuff like isn't this whole rush to get things out.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk to you about some of these cantrips, so I don't want to try to cram them in here towards the end.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with it,
next
week?
I think we do cantrips next week.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of words about Bastions and the player's handbook in general, and I think it will be rushed through the cantrips. So I think we should move that.
So tune in next week for the cantrips.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about cantrips.
Tasty hot ticks.
Yeah.
But Bastions, I guess we're not actually done with those. Now we have a little more time freed up for that.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right too with this whole, it feels like they kind of just dropped a big chunk on our laps. And I think they did it in I wouldn't say a panic, but I think that they're starting to realize the crunch is coming, which is why we got something this big and like completely out of cycle too.
What is the I'm completely blanking, the Penguin House, their typical book publisher?
Oh, Random Penguin Publishing.
Didn't they just drop them or were dropped by them or something?
So they dropped them. So basically what has happened there is they have decided to distribute in-house rather than using Random House, which Random House is like, I think the parent company, but then Penguin is like the sub, which handles WotC's accounts for like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. Which,
And
is if you're not into what that means, essentially, really what it is on a simplified level is that a publishing company like Penguin has the buying power to come in and say buy up a large slot of material of Dungeons and Dragons. That's modules and books and everything like that. They can buy them at a much higher volume, right? So they get a better price, and then they can sell that material to the store at a more reasonable price that you then can spend your most reasonable price. So a good example of that would be, your regular game stores, as well as like bookstores like Books A Million or Barnes and Nobles. So when you go into a Barnes and Nobles and you see a handbook in there that's $30 or a module that's $30, it's $30 because Penguin was able to buy so many of those books at a much lower rate, sell them to Barnes and Nobles at a low enough rate to where Barnes and Nobles could raise the price up to $30 and you could walk away with it. So they have buying power. They have massive buying power to be able to do that, to get that price lower. Now, there has been a lot of stuff going on with WotC and
what a year.
Stocks and, fluctuations in their, their worth. And it's been going up and down. They've had, like controversies with everything from Dungeons and Dragons to Magic across the board and everything like that.
The Magic tournament people dropping them too. And
the Judges League. So now there's nobody training judges for Magic tournaments anymore. And Friday Night Magic is huge. Friday Night Magic is what makes at least like all the FLGSs in our area money. That's their bank, is Friday Night Magic. If you've ever gone to any, game store on a Friday night and watched the league games, it's huge. They make a ton of money on that. So that happening, and now the publisher being dropped, we're seeing this idea that they're going to self-publish, and then digital is now getting pushed. Because obviously digital is great for them. They don't have to print anything.
Back to VTT.
Digital is great for them. The overhead is really good. But now they will be able to self-publish. And the issue with this is that it's probably going to cost more for these stores to get these books. And they are going to pass that savings on to you, which means that, that $20 book can very realistically become a $30 book. That $30 book can very realistically become a $40 to $45 book.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen? We don't know yet.
And the whole reason I brought this up is they're in this crunch to get these books printed. And the sooner to release, like the closer to release, I don't know, the more expensive to rush these out, because
it's going to cost more.
Typically in manufacturing, the faster something needs done, I'm not saying it can't happen, but the cost goes up.
And it's interesting too, because when we look at something like WotC and the unique position we are in as players to be getting these things, these Unearthed Arcanas. This is not normal procedure for anybody, right? For any publishing company of a game, it's not normal for the game maker to have so much shouldered onto their audience. So we're kind of in a unique position, and sometimes it's easy to forget that they don't have to ask our permission for anything.
No,
right?
Of course not.
They don't have to ask us what we think about monks and what we think about druids. This Unearthed Arcana could just completely not exist, and we could just have a coming next year new player's handbook, new dungeon master's guide, full of new stuff that you're just going to have to live with, because this is the new world and this is how we're doing things. So it's easy to forget that we're in a very unique position, that they are coming to us and asking, right? And we're able to give our feedback that is affecting stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think that the big thing here is that they're in a position where they could do that. They really can't do that because with this being a game that is played for the most part in our brains.
Yeah.
If this new material comes out and word of mouth is that, the new monk is trash, you're not going to go buy that book. I'm not going to go buy that book. Why would we buy that book if everything in it is bad? And there's been plenty of things in this in the UAs leading up to this current one already that have needed work and have gone back into the oven and come out much, much better. Even the monk, for example, it's only been out in the world once so far, and we've had some issues with like the base class and stuff like that. But Shadow and Elements, pretty freaking good. And good, they got those off the jump, but open hand, going back in the oven because tested bad. And if they had put that out originally, we'd probably been okay with things because, oh, well, these two are pretty good. Monk's okay, though. And at the end of the day, whose time are they wasting? They're wasting our time, or are they wasting their own time because they made this whole class that people might not play because it's not that great. But if they test this stuff and they release books that people are like, wow, these new versions of all of these characters and classes and species and everything are amazing. You need to go replace all the books you already own with these new ones. They get this lump sum of money all over again.
Oh yeah, it is very self-serving. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, they are getting, at the end of the day, they're going to get their bank because the more that their player base, like you say, is happy, the more likely they are to buy these books.
Versus, like, I think like a video game, right? If the new Mario comes out and it's trash or good or whatever, if I want to play a new Mario and I've burned through the Mario I already have, I got to buy the new Mario. You know what I mean? Versus
keep up with the Joneses.
With D&D, we could play 5th edition, 2014 edition forever and never need changes.
That's true.
And be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because we can also make up things ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how this works.
DM's Guild.
Yeah. If they don't put in the effort to make sure this release is as polished as possible and that we are perfectly happy with these classes and variations, or at least as happy as we can be, with a lot of time to test it. I don't know. It feels like to me like these tests are serving them more than anyone else.
I think, well, I don't think they're serving them more than anyone else. I think that they are, but I think they do serve us as the public too, because it is giving us the chance to really make sure that our voices are heard, which is why I think that there's a reason why they released the Bastions now, is because you hit on this earlier, and that's what started this whole direction of the conversation, is that I think that they know that the Bastion system is probably not perfect, and they need to get it out sooner so that they can get it out again, just like monks. So they need to be able to get this out fast enough to where they can hear from the public what we think about Bastions, so that they can figure out how they're going to cook it to make it a more acceptable product.
Yeah.
And like that, I think that, like I said, I think that serves them for sure. Obviously, that's the reason why they're doing it. But I do think it serves us because it's getting us something that we do want to participate in. Because at the end of the day, if nobody wants to buy the material, then we're just either going to move to a different game system, or we're just going to be grumpy with the system that we have and never move on from it. Which there are still people that do that anyway.
And they've got so much competition in the space right now.
And that's the thing, is the competition is growing stronger. And they've had a couple of missteps,
Oh, yeah.
I love the company. They're great. I've been with them for so long, but they have had some missteps. And every single time they have one of those missteps, everybody is all like, did you see what Worthey just did? Can you
just
believe
bought
it?
Pathfinder.
Yeah. When I first heard about the publishing house and the judges tournaments, it was because I logged online and sat down at my table, my desk in the morning with my morning coffee, getting ready for work. And I opened up YouTube, and right there on the front page were 3 videos that were all with the same thumbnail, which was just the stock arrow breaking through the bottom of the graph with a thumbnail of a person on there that just said, Worthey is dead. The company is gone. And I was like, whoa, that seems extreme. What exactly happened last night?
Yeah.
And then I read this, and it's like, oh, okay, so this is not, they didn't actually die. They didn't go anywhere.
But it's not good.
Is this good news? No. Is it, horrible news and spelled doom for everybody? Not necessarily. It's just, it's not great news. It's another misstep, something bad that happened to them. They're going to recover. I mean, you could legitimately take away Magic and Friday Night Magic and stuff like that. It's going to hurt the game stores more than it's going to hurt Worthey.
Yeah.
This whole deal with these books, if they're garbage and the VTT comes out, they're going to recover from it. This isn't going to kill this company. They're too big to fail at this point. They are a giant. And maybe I'll eat crow and something will happen to them. I don't think so. They're big enough. They have enough people that are loyal to them. They are producing some really good product that is very consistent. They have a lot of competition in the space, but even with these missteps, they're still going to be fine. they're going to recover from this. But they also,
or will they?
They're going to recover from this. They see this. They know these missteps that happen. They're not blind to it. You know, they watch the same videos that we watch. They know the general public opinion on things,
do they watch and listen to True Strike?
Which is why they should. But which is why they know they have to release this stuff. And I think that's why we got Bastions, and because it was so like left field.
Yeah.
Right. We weren't expecting this. We were expecting anything but this. And then all of a sudden they're all like, oh, let's talk about Dungeon Master's Guide. Right? Which they've never even hinted at this. And now here we are with the new Bastion system.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to make some changes to it.
I could see it going either way.
I think they're going to make some changes to it. And I really do like, I know I know we're not the only ones that are talking about Bastions in the same way. And I know we're not the only ones that think that this could benefit from being a standalone book.
Really?
Yes. I would imagine that's probably,
I mean, I hope.
I think that other people on the same page as us. And I think that there are other people that are going to be in the survey that are going to say, wow, neat system, not plug and play. It'd be a lot cooler if it was just its own thing. And it would not surprise me to see Bastions removed from the Dungeon Master's Guide. We see this again, but we see it not pitched as something in the DMG. We see it pitched as something supplemental, which then at that point,
totally happy.
Cool. Let's release Bastions and have it be, not franchises.
I'm telling you, throw it in there with a small, like, I was going to say small module, but you don't even get access to level 5. So is it?
I mean, it would still be like, can you imagine like buying, let's say you bought a module, right? And in that module is not like your traditional module. So it's not like an adventure, right? So you buy a module that is just that. It's a Bastion module, and you open that up, and what you have in there is an assortment of maps for all these different rooms that you can modular.
There's so much cool stuff
like lay out, right? So you can actually build like something physical that you can see, like a map where you can piece together all the rooms and then actually have like a real home base that your people can call home. And then you could decide how you're going to plug and play that into your own home games. I can totally see that happening.
I'm excited to see the made at home Lego Bastions.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing.
And you're moving your minifigure around and such.
I mean, I'd go ahead and partner with Lego, right? To do Bastions. Partner with Lego. It's like, what, $50 a set? So $50 a room. Yeah, you got an observatory. You can look into the Spelljammer and you can see the Nautilus ship flying over. That'd be really, really cool. Yeah. Partner with Lego. That'd be really cool.
Really expensive.
I'll buy a Bastion.
No.
I'm sorry. I'll buy a Bastion Lego.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I do think that this is an interesting one, because like I said, I'm going to fill out a survey for it, 100% not having play tested it, and I'm going to mention that in the survey. I'm going to be all like, hey, unqualified opinion here, because I'm not going to play this, but here's what I think is wrong with this.
I don't think we have enough time to play test this.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, we're
not
talking,
in its real form.
No, especially because they're like, well, make sure your characters don't level up too fast, because then you'll get the full benefit of the Bastion system. And I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to give them so many weeks. It's what, like 8 weeks between levels?
Yeah, between levels.
To really get like the benefits of the Bastion. And oh my goodness, like, am I just gonna speed run players through a game where I'm like, all right guys, it's been 8 weeks, go ahead and make me 8 d20 rolls. What are you gonna do with those Bastion points? All right, you leveled up again, let's go. No, I don't have time for that. But not in the time they want these surveys done. It's gonna be hot takes.
Yeah, especially when you have an entire campaign running aside. The only way that you'd be able to do it is if you're gonna run a Bastion campaign. So you're gonna sit down with your players and you're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna do Bastions, and that's gonna be the focus. So it's going to be house building, and then the off-camera stuff is going to be all like, oh, remember that time where you killed that dragon and stole his hoard and got 100,000 gold to start off your Bastion? That totally happened. Or remember that, those Dwergar you raided and you stole their mountainside castle from them? That totally happened in the last couple of weeks since we met, and it'll just be Bastion games. So it's, like this is our campaign is going to be, Farmville for the next month.
It's Sims, it's Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it's Animal Crossing for the next month and a half. Animal Crossing D&D edition. That way, you could legitimately test this in a format that you'd have the most usable input, I think.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people's input is going to be surface level, what we just talked about.
There we go. And that's what it's going to be, I think.
And that's what I'm going to give.
Fill out your surveys, folks.
Fill out your surveys. Playtest it if you want. And if you do playtest this, like, let us know how. Like, how did you playtest this and how did it work? Did you just drop it into your home game? Did that work? Are you playing Sims right now with your group?
Honestly, yeah. How's it going?
I want to know how it's going. Yeah.
Are we overreacting? Are we underreacting? Is it terrible? Is the world on fire?
I wish we knew somebody that was going to use this system.
Are your players bored?
Yeah.
Is your DM
Is this exciting?
bored? Yeah. What? There's so much that can happen with this. It's. I could just keep ranting, but I don't want to.
I really want to know somebody who's using this system, who's really going to test it.
Yes.
And I don't know somebody who's going to.
Right.
You think Garrett's going to? I don't know if Garrett's going to use this system.
He would if. I don't know if he will during this survey, but I know he would at some point.
The only person we know who might use the system.
It's crunchy enough that he might jump into it.
Yeah.
But everyone, thank you for listening. It's been quite the ramble today.
Yeah, this is Richard's rant hour.
This wasn't how we planned on it going.
Welcome.
The second part of this, the last 3 pages of this UA will be in next week's episode. We will get there. Like I said, thank you so much for joining us. If you're on YouTube, comment down below. Let us know if you're going to check this out. Subscribe while you're there. If you're on any kind of podcatcher, your Apple Podcast, your Spotify, make sure you give us a rating, a follow, anything like that. If you'd like, if you hate us, hate us. We still love you. You're great. You're the best. Especially you, Richard. You're the best. Oh. But for now, I've been Tyler.
And I've been Richard.
And we've been
True Strike.
Hey, adventurers. Thanks again for joining us today. Please be sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. If there's any questions you'd like to write into the show, you can hit us up on Threads or Instagram. New episodes release every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for listening to True Strike.